What's the key to defending a quarterback that can extend the way that Russ does?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think the number one thing you have to do is I don't think you can ever, when it comes to a pass rush, no matter how many people you're rushing, I think the worst thing you can do is rush what I refer to as rush scared. You can't rush scared or you can't be cautious, but you definitely have to be smart when you rush a guy like this. And as you guys know, you always talk about there's 5 offensive linemen. Well, there's 3 gaps on each side of the center. So that's 6 rush lanes that you have to defend. Well, when you do the math, if you only rush 4, you got 6 rush lanes, you only got 4 rushers. So obviously when you add rushers, if you add a 5th rusher, if you add a 6th rusher, it's much easier with rush lanes. But the key thing that you always talk about is when you rush 4, you got to condense and you got to collapse the pocket and rush lanes. But there are 6 rush lanes and only 4 guys. So, and Russell he's been the master of it for years, just being able to manipulate movement in the pocket and create time. And, he's one of the best of all time. So it's a challenge. It's definitely something you got to talk about. It's been, I think, a benefit for us the last 2 weeks going against Kyler. With all the issues that he possesses, then obviously, Patrick Mahomes is all 3 of them are subtly different. But the last 2 weeks has been good prep for us because those are guys that do a great job of creating time and really being able to manipulate time to be able to throw the ball down the field, but then also tuck the ball and run. So it will be another great challenge this week with number 3.
Typically, how many games of film do you go back to watch of a team? And I ask that just because Russell hasn't been around for the last 3.5 of them. So I guess does any of that change compared to your usual?
Well, we usually typically from a, when you do your full game reports, you usually do 4 or 5 games, and usually it's the last 4 or 5. But especially at this point in the season, with them only playing 8 games, you go back and you study everything. And a guy like with in their situation with Geno, it wasn't like they were going to scrap their offense that Russell was running and do something completely different when Geno came in. They're gonna run the same system. They're going to run the same offense. But to answer your specific question, with only 8 games, we go back and we study every snap of every game. Okay, good seeing you guys.
Joe, I know every defensive coordinator runs things a little bit differently, but we know kind of your basic concept and your philosophies behind this defense. At what point did you start to feel like the guys were really starting to fully grasp what you wanted to do and how the scheme worked? Because obviously the proof is in the pudding of where you guys are in the rankings.
Yeah, and I really don't get into the whole rankings thing. But I think that's, to me, that's a hard question because you never really know when. I'm a firm believer. I learned this from Monty Kiffin years ago, that he used to say the worst words you can ever say as a player or coach is, "Yeah, I got it," meaning like, "Yeah, no, I got it. You don't need to tell," because I don't think you could be in a system for years. You never really hear stories of Bill Walsh always talking about Joe Montana in the 12th year of that system. The first day of OTAs, he was sitting there front and center with his notebook out and his pen, taking notes on, the standard, first day installation, like it was the first time he'd heard it and it was the 12th time he heard it, So, I don't think you can ever have that mindset. And that's, I brag on our guys all the time because I believe it. It's their, our process, our weekly process that we start on Wednesday every week, and they come in and they're obviously every game plan, every offense that you defend is subtly different every week. So there's subtle game plan tweaks that happen, but I think that's been the great thing with every single one of our guys. Starters in waiting, all of them, they attack every week and they approach every week like it's, the first time they've heard something. And I think that's helped them, play and, make strides and, stack blocks like we have been.
So if you don't go by the rankings, just go by your feel. How do you feel about where this defense is at?
Again, I think we've done some good things. We've done some exciting things, but I think, and hopefully the guys would echo this, I think they have the mindset that we've left some plays out there that we can go make. And again, I think that's the great thing about this group is that they're always hungry for more. They're hungry to learn, they're hungry to work, they're hungry to improve. And as I've started with you, as I've stated this to you guys before, that's Kenny and that's Adrian and that's Savage and that's the veteran guys. That's Preston Smith. That's Rashawn. D. Campbell is. I think I shared with you the other day when he got that award. He was like, I don't care about that. Let's move on. It's Thursday. We got to talk about third downs. And I think when your veterans have that approach that they don't care about anything other than the matter at hand. And when it's Wednesday, hey, let's have a great first and second down day. When it's Thursday, let's have a great third down day. When it's Friday, let's have a great red zone day. And that's what's been exciting about working with these guys is that they're always eager and hungry to improve.
Joe, what did you think of just what Chris gave you on Sunday, and how have you seen that?
KB?
KB, yeah.
Yeah.
And just being able to form that kind of chemistry with Devondre, what do you thought of what those two have been able to do?
Yeah, no, it's been KB's a stud. You guys obviously know his background. I think when and for those of people that don't, when you're an undrafted guy, it's kind of like in college when you're a walk-on. You're looked at as like, oh yeah, you're just here for training camp. And you gotta. We as coaches like to take the approach that, hey, we're not gonna. I know, for example, personally, I'm not gonna coach or treat a first-round draft pick any different than an undrafted kid. That's kind of been my approach, my whole. But when you're an undrafted guy, you're behind the eight ball a little bit. You got to do a little bit more and a little bit extra with everything. And KB is still in that mold where he's only a second-year guy. And I think, to me, that's what makes Chris Barnes really special, is that a lot of times it's so easy, oh man, I made the team, I can relax. Well, as a rookie last year, he never relaxed. He just kept fighting and kept scratching and kept improving. Even, going into his second year, oh man, he's got a new coordinator. He's got to learn a new system. He's basically starting at square one again. And he's the type of kid that's just come in and battled and scratched and clawed. We signed Dre. Then we signed some other players. We draft some other players. And he's just every day he's the same. He's working, he's grinding, he's getting better. He's just trying to improve his craft. And that's what I love about the kid, is that he's a tireless worker. And really, as I've been here, as long as I have been, I really get to see the respect that he's earned from all the veteran players on both sides of the ball. That's really probably the most impressive thing that I've been able to see with Chris Barnes, is the way his teammates view him and the way his teammates, look at him as a guy, as a leader. And again, you're talking about a young second-year guy that was not drafted. So he's a special individual. He really is. And played well for us on Sunday in Kansas City. Probably played his best game of the year. So it was exciting to see. And again, he's taken the approach. He's got much more to prove and show a lot more.
Joe, those times when he shot gaps just seemed to get through. Was that a reflection, one, of something you saw in Kansas City's blocking scheme that you could go after, or is that more of how you expect your system to work? Where
I think it's and I'll get into more detail. But I think it's a combination of all those things, you know. But linebacker, you guys, linebackers kind of, you know, I always equate it to every position that you play on the football field. You got to have awareness and instincts, right? And you know, the awareness and instincts that it takes to play wideout is completely different than what it takes to play left tackle. Well, to me, and you know, I'm a linebacker coach. You know, I think linebacker instincts and awareness are probably the hardest things because the instincts and awareness it takes to play the inside linebacker position. It's kind of I always equate it to, it's very similar to a great running back, right? Especially a great inside and outside zone running back, because a coach can tell you what to look at and what to read, but you know, once the ball snapped, all that is out the window. Your instincts and your awareness, right, take over. And I personally think that the linebacker position is the position that you have to, you can't, you know, I can be the greatest inside linebacker coach on the planet. I can't teach you how to have awareness and how to have instincts. You either have it or you don't. Now, I can teach you how to use your hands better. I can teach you, you know, to you know, get your base a little bit better, bend your knees, right? We can get you in the weight room, maybe get you a little stronger, right? We can get, you know, Coach Gizzy to maybe improve your speed a little bit more. But to play inside linebacker, you got to have, and people call it FBI all the time, you know. You gotta have that football instincts. You got to have that football awareness, and it's something that you can't coach. And I think that's what, you know, Chris is a great example of a guy, might not be the fastest guy, might not be the biggest guy, but he has those things that you can't coach, and that is instincts and awareness. And you know, a couple of those plays that he made the other night, that's just you look at that and you say, wow, we didn't, you know, that wasn't on a tip sheet that we gave him on Wednesday. You know, the ball was snapped, he saw something, and bam, his football instincts and awareness took over and allowed him to make a play. So it was exciting to see.
Sarah, let's go to Zoom.
Go ahead, Aaron Nathan.
Coach,
Hey, Aaron.
on Sunday, hey, Coach. On Sunday, you had a number of guys who would presumably not have played as many snaps as they were slated to had you not been dealing with injuries both in the game and prior to the game with Stokes going down in warm-ups. What did you think of guys like Slayton and maybe Chandon, though I don't know exactly what your rotation was going to be, but guys who had to step in and give you significant reps that maybe they hadn't practiced for and with the starters all week long?
Sure. Well, you know, it's of course those are things. You know, the Stokes thing was crazy. You know, you obviously don't ever think, you know, when an injury happens, obviously, and you got a week to prepare for it, you know, even if something unfortunately happens during the week of practice and you got, you know, 72, 48, even 24 hours to plan for it. But when you know, something like in Eric's situation that literally happened 20 minutes before kickoff, you know, I hope you guys don't get bored with me saying this, but, you know, it's just a mindset and an approach that we do preach it all the time. I told you guys the story a while back because, you know, we've had to deal with injuries all year, and it's been unfortunate. But, you know, my mindset always has been, you know, and you've heard me say it to you, we have starters and we have starters in waiting. And when you approach that, again, I give all the as much positive as I can give for our coaches. I think our position coaches do a phenomenal job with that in creating that mindset in their individual rooms, because we've had to deal with it all year. When a guy goes down, the next guy goes up, and he's not just filling in as a backup. We have the mindset, when you're in the huddle as one of the 11, you're a starter. And you know, there's countless stories that it's happened all year. You know, we know Dean was going to be a little bit limited in going into the game last week, and then bam, all of a sudden, you know, Kenny gets banged up and Kenny's out. You know, and we had Dean on more or less a pitch count last week. So, it's great to see a guy like TJ who's been making strides, you know, young player that we're excited about. But then, man, if you're planning on, you know, there's never a magic number that you plan on a player playing, but, you know, just for our conversation, let's say we were planning on TJ playing, you know, 12 snaps. Well, then all of a sudden he's got to play 25 or play 30. And he goes in and he does a great job, you know. So, you know, our coaches do a great job with that mindset, and we don't flinch. We don't talk about it. We just keep it moving. And then it's up to the players, obviously, doing their job. And, you know, every guy that we've had to, you know, call on, just because of injuries or whatever, they've done a phenomenal job. So I think it's a great job by all of our position coaches. Then obviously the players, you know, having that mentality. Hey, when you're in the huddle, you're a starter, man. So it's been great that a number of guys have done that all year.